And I didn't realize it then, but I see now that this was a test of my faith. We need to talk. This is a follow-up video to my previous video, so if you haven't seen it, go do so. It's simply about how the Lord blessed us with this apartment, and I pretty much take you through my digital diary of how I was feeling in my waiting season. With that being said, we are in our apartment, and I kid you not, in less than 24 hours of us moving in, all hell broke loose. On January 14th, I completed a 10-day fast. Now, I personally thought I was fasting for one thing, but in hindsight, I believe that the Lord was preparing me for what I am in the thick of right now. The following day, on January 15th, we moved into this apartment. At 7:30 p.m., we got everything in and we were good to go. January 16th, the unthinkable happened. And while I won't go into details because I know that this was more of a spiritual issue than it was a physical issue, just know the enemy tried it. I'm not even being dramatic when I say our lives literally got flipped upside down in less than 24 hours of moving into this place. And I didn't realize it then, but I see now that this was a test of my faith. And let me just say, the test was hard, okay? I ain't never been a good test taker. This was not easy, especially because I wasn't even aware that I was being tested simply because I was so consumed by my emotion and my flesh. This was the first time since having my son that I began to experience depression, suicidal thoughts, just ready to throw in the towel and give up, call it quits. And I just, for the life of me, could not understand what was going on because I said, Lord, I feel like you brought us here. Lord, I feel like this was your will. So why? Why are we going through this? Why are we experiencing this? Why would you let us move in if you knew that this would be the outcome? But I knew too much about God to be mad at God, to blame God, or to turn away from God. As much as I wanted to be mad at him, I couldn't be. So then I thought, okay, let me direct my anger towards the enemy. But then I quickly remembered that the enemy can't do anything that the Lord doesn't allow him to do. And if the Lord was allowing him to do it, then it was something that the Lord wanted to happen. Which then led me to realize that I was simply prideful. There was a level of pride that I was still operating in because I felt like, I don't deserve this. This shouldn't be happening to me. This is not my portion. And while yes, I am a child of God, and the Lord in his mercy, kindness, goodness, faithfulness protects me from things, he owes me nothing. So it was prideful of me to feel like God was wrong for pointing me out to Satan. It was prideful of me to feel like I should be exempt from any hardship, from any suffering, because I've done X, Y, and Z. So why do I have to go through this? So God revealed to me the pride in my heart through this situation. But like I said earlier, this also was a test of my faith. Just like Abraham's faith was tested with his son. If I'm not mistaken, Abraham's faith was tested again when God called Abraham to the land of Canaan, but then there was a famine and Abraham had to leave and go to Egypt. It's like, why would you call me to this land and now I'm starving? There's no food. So now I have to up and move, but you called me here. What was the purpose behind that? And so we can be quick, I was quick, to be like, why? For what? It didn't have to be like this. Why is it like this? Why even let me get this far only for this to be the outcome? Because I honestly felt like that was the end. What we were in the thick of, what we were experiencing was the end. So then doubt came, confusion came. I was struggling to hear the voice of the Lord, or maybe he was just silent because it was a test. But I felt like I was struggling to connect to him and to hear him and to receive from him. And for more than a couple of days, I really struggled with the situation that we were in, especially because it didn't just affect me, it affected my children, it affected my husband, it affected people around me. It wasn't just a me issue, it affected a lot of people. And so I was very frustrated. I was very angry. I was sad. I felt defeated. I felt hopeless. And God made space for all of these feelings. I truly can tell you that when I was feeling all these things, he was there. And he didn't rebuke me. He didn't tell me I was wrong for processing through these emotions and wanting to blame him, but then realizing that's foolish. Can't really blame him because he's God. He can do no wrong. And, not really talking to him much anymore, reading my Bible, but my heart really wasn't in it. I was just kind of reading it just to say that I read it. Different things like that. He made space for that, and he was with me through that. And then I made it to the other side of it. While we are still working through and navigating through the situation, I'm on the other side of things mentally and emotionally. I was this close to falling back into that black hole of depression and suicidal thoughts. But God, I promise you, he kept me. He kept me. And when I felt like I couldn't take it anymore and I just didn't know what to do, I came to him. I had already tried to come up with solutions. I had tried to work through different scenarios in my head of maybe this can happen and we could do this, or this can happen and we could do that. And then I really just got to a point where I said, Kennedy, even if you wanted to, you couldn't. You couldn't overcome this on your own. You just simply can't. And although your flesh is feeling so many different emotions at once, you need to go to the one who can. You need to go to the one who is sovereign. You need to go to the one who has more wisdom than anybody else. You need to go to the one who has written out every detail of your life. And so I did. I got my handy dandy journal and I finally wrote to God about how I was feeling and how much I needed him. I didn't ask him for anything other than to just help me, because I could not do it on my own. And I was fully aware of that. And it was after that that the Lord began sending people to encourage me. It was literally like back to back to back to back. People were randomly texting me encouragement. And then he also just encouraged me personally in different ways, reminding me of who I am and whose I am. And so it doesn't matter what the giant is. It doesn't matter what I'm up against. He's fighting on my behalf. And therefore, I'm already victorious. And so through this, I've had to really, really walk by faith and not by sight. I still don't have the answers. I still don't know what the outcome is going to end up being. But I know the God that I serve. I know that he cannot fail. He's never failed me before and he won't start now. I know that he's faithful. I know that I'm the apple of his eye and that he loves me unconditionally. It's even a testimony for me to be speaking those things right now, because just 3-4 days ago, I was saying how I don't feel like any of that is true. How although I have the head knowledge of it, I don't feel that in my heart that he truly loves me. Because if he did, how could he allow me to be going through this? He had the power to stop it. He had the power to ensure that it didn't happen at all. Yet he allowed it. That doesn't feel like unconditional love. That doesn't feel like I'm the apple of his eye. That doesn't feel like he's mindful of me. That doesn't feel like he's faithful. The list goes on and on. All the biblical truths that I know, none of it felt true in those early days of me trying to navigate through this situation. But I'm sitting here today fully convinced that the Lord sees me, he hears me, and he loves me. That he is faithful, that he is in control. And so yes, he allowed this, but anything that God does is rooted in love, because God is love. And so I say all of that to say, sometimes God is allowing things to happen to deepen your faith, to test your faith, to expose things that are inside of you that you may be unaware of. And you would never become aware of them if you weren't put through the fire. The fire purifies you. And it's so much easier to just blame God and be angry at God. But it's so much better to realize that he's not to blame and that this truly is for your good. I'm literally experiencing biblical truths right now. Romans 8:28, it's working for your good. Even if the outcome doesn't end up being what I want it to be, it worked for my good simply because it made my faith stronger in God. It removed a level of pride in me that I didn't even know existed still. It's one thing to know the Bible and what it says. It's another thing to literally experience it in your own life. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. I'm literally living that out right now. God has given me power and authority to trample on scorpions and serpents. I'm living that out right now. God is just too good. He's just too good. Like I said, it's one thing to have head knowledge. It's another thing to actually experience it and know for yourself that these aren't just words in a book. These scriptures that we hear all the time are truth. And so if you're currently experiencing something right now that feels like it's going to break you, don't let your faith waver. Stand firm on the word of God, because the Bible says that his word has to come to pass. It can't return void. And I know it's uncomfortable. I know it would be much easier if he just made it all go away and you didn't have to endure it. You didn't have to suffer through it. I know. But I'm telling you, as someone who's still in the thick of her situation, I'm telling you right now, you'll testify. The victory is yours. You're going to make it to the other side, mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually, in every area. You're gonna make it to the other side. And not only is this experience going to change you for the better, you'll one day be able to minister to somebody else. So be encouraged, okay? I love y'all. Bye.